audience. So you can amp up your sales through live stream. Have you found that you do live streams and you feel like they're lost, like you're not really getting to who you want to get to, or you're just not converting? You're putting in that time, you're getting it together, and by Jove, you would just like to know that you're reaching the people you want to reach and doing it effectively. Wouldn't it be great to be doing a live stream and know that whenever you go live, you're going to make sales, you're going to convert people onto your list? Well, my name is Roxanne Wilson. I'm the host of Rox Talks, the podcast that helps network marketers grow their business on social media. And through my membership, Social Stories, I help network marketers get really clear on how to become the CEOs of their business, not just glorified salespeople. And being a good live streamer, as we like to call it, going live, is an essential part of that. So today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to drill down that audience so that you can amp up your business. Would you like to do that? Does that sound good? Awesome. Now, I do want to ask you a question. I'd love to know right now, right here, right now, are you currently live streaming? Tell me. I'd love to know that if this is something you're doing. Some of you are like, are you going live? Are you live streaming? And if you are, I'd love to know where you are. Where's the place on social media that you are rocking that? I will mention really quickly too, that if you do not use Be.Live, it's something you should definitely consider. And in the chat, you'll see the spot where you can get a free trial to Be.Live, because Be.Live, this is where I'm broadcasting right now, really makes it so much easier and so much more professional to go live. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so shall we dive in? Are you ready? Would you like to find out how you can drill down your audience and amp up those sales? Well, let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? First and foremost, here's what I know. People are often wondering, do I really, like, the idea of drilling down your market might seem a little bit scary to you. Am I right? Here's some things that I want you to know. This is the biggest thing. Like, if you take away nothing from today, this is the one thing I want you to take away. Just one thing I want you to take away. When you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. And you've probably heard people say that to you before. When you're told, hey, listen, you need to drill down your target market, you're like, here's the thing. I'm going to say it again, when you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. If you're trying to put together a live stream that's talking to the masses, to men, to women, to ages millennials and baby boomers and all in between, and Gen X's, and you're doing too much. And it makes it really hard for anyone to actually think that you're talking to them. And let's be real, in life, if I don't feel like you're talking to me, I can feel like I can keep scrolling, I can keep moving, and I can find the person who is talking directly to me. Back in my Austin days, I lived in Austin, Texas. I was in the junior league. And I remember we were doing a big, trying to get the members to give to a big event, and I hadn't given yet. I was like, oh yeah, I need to do that. I forgot. And so there was someone who was a little bit irritated. She's like, I just want to know, for those of you who haven't done it yet, and literally 20% of the members had given to this drive, why haven't you guys done it? And I said, well, honestly, because I'd never been asked. And she looked shocked. But that is so poignant, and it is how the world works. If I don't think you're talking to me, even if you're talking about giving or donating or whatever your content is about, then I don't think it applies to me. And it's not that I'm not interested or I won't activate and get involved at some point, but initially it's not for me. So you want to think the same thing. If your target market doesn't feel like you're talking to them, they're going to keep scrolling until they find someone who understands them and their needs to do that. So when you're talking to everyone, you are talking to no one. Let's take that a little step further, shall we though? Okay, because you might be thinking to yourself, but Roxanne, are you sure? I've got business, I've got goals. How can I make this happen? Here's something else I think is a really interesting fact. I want you to take a look at this. 91% of women feel that advertisers don't understand them. Listen, my dad's a statistician, and facts or stats are interesting to me. This is my number one favorite stat, because it's so telling. 91% of women who were interviewed said they did not feel like advertisers understand them. This is not to be a sad thing, but I want you to think about a couple things. You are an advertiser. And I know when you think advertiser, you think, oh, they might be talking about Coca-Cola or Apple or the big businesses. Guess what? You are a business as well too. And you are an advertiser. And when you go out there on social media and you're promoting and selling your product, then you too fall into that advertiser's role. So I use this stat and I think of it all the time because, we also know that women are the ones who make most of the spending decisions, right? That is fact and proven. And so when you think about, and I'm going to guess that your target market is probably female or close to it. I'll tell you my target market is female, and my clients, 99.9% of my clients' target market happens to be female. So this is really important because you think about this. You want to make sure that everything you're putting out there, if women don't feel like you're talking to them and they're still doing some purchasing, what would it look like if they felt like you specifically, you, Julie, or you, Alan, were specifically talking to them? What would that do, right, for them? What would that do to their buying? Wouldn't they spend more money? Wouldn't they activate faster and convert faster? Absolutely. So that's why I love this stat, and it's something to remember. 91%, that's a big percentage. Okay, so let me tell you this too, because you might be thinking, gosh, Roxanne, I don't think if I do this drill down thing you want me to do, I'm afraid that there actually won't be enough people for me to be successful. Let me just give you some stats as they stand today. On YouTube, okay, there are 2.3 billion users worldwide, and 79% of them, of all internet users, have their own YouTube account. So if you did your business just on YouTube, there's 2.3 billion users. Okay, remember that number. Instagram has 1 billion people who use the app every month. 1 billion unique people use the app every 30 to 31 days, or 28 or 29 to 30 days. Think about that. And on Facebook, 2.7 billion monthly users. A month, they have 2.7 unique users, as in like brand new, not I came back over and over again, but 2.7 billion people at least touch that platform once. And these are stats even with people going, I'm going to be done with my social media. Okay. So why do I mention this to you? Because when you sit there and you say, golly gee willikers, I cannot drill down my market. I want to talk to everyone. Okay. I've got to make sure that everybody knows that I'm talking to them. And I tell you something like, when you're talking to everybody, you're talking to no one, and you're like, I want to ask you this question. And I'm asking you right now, and I want to know the answer. Knowing that if you're just on YouTube, there's 2.3 billion users. That if you're just on Instagram, there's a 1 billion a month. And if you're just on Facebook, there's 2.7 billion. Do you mean to tell me, I want you to think about your goals, wherever you want to get for your business this year, in addition to like an infinity and beyond. Do you really think that if you drill down your market from the billions that are out there, that there are not enough people in a drilled down audience to get you to the goal you want to go to? I mean, think about that. Seriously. Because that's an important, we can talk about drilling down your audience all you want. And I'm with you. And I'm excited to take you through this process. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't believe there's enough people on your social media platforms, the platforms where you're doing your live streaming, that you could drill it down and still have a hearty business, then this is not going to work. So my question for you right now is, do you believe? Do you believe that if you take the 2.3 billion or the 1 billion or the 2.7 billion and you drill it down, so that you end up with, I don't know, maybe 100,000, 500,000. If you had 100,000 people on your list that you could then get your business partners, that you could then get your clients, that you could then have your customers, is that enough to get to the goal that you want to get to? Let me know. I want to know. It's a yay or nay. And that's why I think these stats are so important, because realizing how many people are out there will help you kind of make that decision and ask yourself, are there enough? Are there enough people? I'm going to say yes, but I can't make that decision for you. You got to make it for yourself. Okay. So remember, when you speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. The strategy behind this is important as we go forward. So I would say there are enough people in your target market, and I'd love for you to say this with me now. There are enough people in my target market to reach my goals. That's what I want you to say. You can whisper it, you can yell it, you can write it down, but there are enough people in your target market when you drill down that audience to reach your goals. Okay, hopefully we're there. You believe, or at least you're going to believe for the next, while we're here together, and we can go from there. Okay. And if you struggle with this, let me know, because I want to help you work. I want to help you work through this. It's such an important aspect, believing there are enough people in your drill down target market that you can move on. And I'm laughing because Julie just said, I think 100,000 might be enough. Chuckle. I agree with you completely to get where you want to go. Love that. All right. So how do we do this? How do we drill down our audience? What you're going to do first and foremost is you're going to figure out not only who has a need for your product or service, but also who's most likely to buy it. It's a little bit of both. Like, seriously. So you want to think who needs it, which is where you end up like, right? That's how you go into business because you're filling a need, but also who's most likely to buy it. Let me give you a little example on that. Okay. If you have a product where you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, everybody needs, everybody needs this water bottle. Like everybody needs a water bottle to have and to take with them. And who doesn't need a water bottle, right? Okay. But my water bottle happens to be $1,000. Okay. So yeah, everyone might need my product, but who's most likely to buy $1,000 water bottle? Okay. So you do want to think about who's most likely to buy it. I am not going to try and sell my $1,000 water bottle to college students because they probably can't rationalize spending $1,000 on a water bottle. I know it's a little extreme, but you're picking up what I'm putting down. So really you have to ask yourself again, not only who has a need for your product, but also who's most likely to buy it to drill down that target market. Because again, when you're trying to drill it down, you're being picky. You're like, not you. Yep, you. This is how they're going to be. It's going to be this or that. And so in order to do that, you do have to ask yourself, who needs it? And you might be like, everybody needs what I have to offer. True. But who's most likely to buy it? And here's another reason we do that. Because let's be frank, if you drill down to people who need it and are likely to buy it, you're going to see results faster. You're going to have a bigger impact because you're giving people who need what they need, what they want at a price they're willing to pay for it. That's huge. But so the impact feels good. And you're also going to make money, and more money equals more impact. Always never feel bad about making money. More money means you have an ability to make a higher impact. Okay. So know that as well too. Okay. All right. So we're good on that. Let's break it down further, shall we? We shall. Okay. So let me just flip. Here's my formula. And this is the formula that I teach to my clients. So this is how I base doing your target market. And this is how you can do it too. So I want you to think about this. Okay. When you're building out your target market, you want to think about your business plus you equals your target market. When we talk about your business, that's the product or the service that you're offering. And that's the thing that that's the client aspect of it. Okay. That product or business is the client aspect. That's your personal brand and who you are, right? That fits into the target market and into that equation. So you got to think about the client, the brand, and that equals your target market. Let me give you an example. If I am someone who's selling beef jerky, okay? So I know my product, beef jerky, and I'm selling to those who love beef jerky, maybe some of those who are doing like keto or like things like that. And they're like, oh, I need beef jerky. I need the protein, right? However, I have been a card-carrying vegan all my life. My target market is probably not going to be people who are vegans, right? I'm probably going to find a target market of people who are like, I was vegan, but now I know I need to eat beef, and so I'm eating beef jerky. A little bit of an extreme, but you want to make sure that whatever your target market is, it is completely or authentic to who you are, if that helps, right? Who you are, as well as the brand itself. And you want to, because here's at the end of the day, we buy things from people we like, know, and trust. And your reputation is so very important. So you do want to make that has to make sense as you're pulling in your target market. You are always an aspect. Of course, your customer is a huge aspect, but you being authentic to who you are is going to help the process as well too. Okay. So think target market equals your business plus you equals your target market. I also want to give you permission here too, because as you go through figuring out your audience, your target market, you might find that they start to look like you. You're like, oh my gosh, she's a lot like I am. I'm describing myself. And I often get asked the question, is that okay, Roxanne? Can it be someone that I am or a stage in life that I was at in the past? 1,000 times over, because you know you best and you know where you were better than anyone else. So it stands to reason that 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 might pop up, and that is totally okay. So if you're like, is it okay if I pick my target market? Yes. The target market could be you, but I also don't want you to realize that if you decide the target market is going to be someone who is not me, that is totally fine as well too. That is okay. Okay. You get to choose your target market. Also, before we start this process, something I want you guys to know is this: it can change. You have permission. Give yourself permission to lean into this target market, perhaps for 90 days, perhaps for half a year or entire year, and evaluate and see, do I like talking to these people? Are these the people I want to be connecting with? And if they aren't, then that is okay. You can switch it. You are not, this is not etched in stone on your heart. You can, and I encourage you to lean into perhaps changing it if it needs be, but giving yourself that permission, I find, lets you exhale a little bit as you go through this process, where you're not feeling as required to be wedded to it. Okay. All right. So let's go into the questions. Now, before we do this part, y'all, and I apologize, my sisters are texting like crazy, and I'm going to tell them stop texting because they're messing this up. Okay. And I can't get it off my computer. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. Grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. Maybe you already had one. Okay. But go ahead and grab one, and let's dive into this. This is the same. And this is like, if you're watching this, I'm so excited you are, because you're going to go through an abbreviated version, but what I go through, what I teach, and what the exercise that I go through in boot camp form with my clients to help them work through the target market. Just so you know, because you might be thinking, oh, but your clients, they already are ready for, they already know that they got to drill down their target market. Most of my clients, when they meet me, are hesitant. They know that probably they should make that target market a little bit more specific, but they've been taught their target market is everyone and anyone. That's what they're taught as network marketers from the second they come in the door. And so it is like they're a little hesitant to go through this process. So I want you to know, if you're hesitant, you're in good hands. I got you. We'll work through this and we'll really narrow it down. Okay. So, all right. So first thing, I want you to ask yourself some questions. And like I said, what I'd love for you to do is this: write it down. And I would encourage you to write down the first answer you come up with. Remember, it's not written in stone. You can X it out. If you have an erasable pen, you can erase it. But the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. So we're going to start with some, what I call quantitative questions. First one is this: how old is your target market? How old is your target? And let me go back. I'm not going to call it a target market. How old is your avatar? That's often used when we talk about joining your audience. If you had to give them a specific age, how old are they? And if you want to put some of these answers down below, I will absolutely take a look at them and we can work through them. So if you're like, I want to know if I'm doing this right, guess what? You've got me. You have me right now. So feel free to type them down. We can work through this. Okay. So how old are they? And you know what? Forgive me, because I always default to her being a female, and that's not fair. So what I really should do is let you choose the gender first. What's the gender? Is she male? Are they? See, again, are they male, female, or non-binary? Make that decision, okay? Now, what I typically hear when this happens is, I want to talk to everybody, but I want to talk to everyone. This is not to say that the person you're talking to, the people that you might be attracting in business, are not going to be something beyond what you choose or any of these decisions. Okay. I want to remind you of that. This is just to say that if it was one person, if you had to choose one person specifically, this is who they would be. All right. Great example. I make no bones about the fact that I teach females, women, network marketers. That's my focus. However, I've got men in my group. Yeah, or a man, I should say, in my group. And we love Alan. Alan, I think, is here today. And we love having him here. When you do what you do well, you will attract others. So know that. Others will come. It's just you're deciding. You're getting really focused on specifically who you're talking to. And we're doing that because when you know who you're talking to, which I'll show you after we go through this process, it's going to get really clear on how you can use those live streams to talk to them and grow your business. Okay. All right. Julie says 14-year-old and their mothers, 14-year-olds and their mothers. Okay. So we're going the age and that's awesome. And Alan says 40-year-old male. So I love that. So we know the age, and I want you to know, you notice this. Julie said 17-year-old. She didn't say 15-year-old, 14. She didn't say 13 to 12. She didn't say any of that. She got really specific on who it was. Amazing. What I find we do, especially with age, we're like, oh, well, they're going to be anywhere from 25 to 60 or 35 to 40. This is not a Facebook ad range demographic. I want you guys to get really specific on the age. And here is why. A 25-year-old is going through different things than a 40-year-old, than a 35-year-old, than a 55, than a 75-year-old. So you want to know specifically how old they are, so you know who you're talking to. Love it. And Heather says female 35-year-old. Awesome. That gives you a specific thing. Another great example of this as we go through this is like if you say, oh, mom, is she a mom of kids? How many kids? But also, are the kids under 4? Are they school age? Are they on their own? That makes a difference with what you're going to be talking about and how it resonates with her. When the lockdown started and schools shut down, what I found was clients who had that experience were talking about that, but clients who are baby boomers, or not even baby boomers, that are past that and empty nesters, they felt for those who had the kids at home homeschooling, but that was not their bag. That was not the issue that they were dealing with during it. So that's why you want to get really specific, even on if she has kids, how old they are. Okay, so age. We talked about gender. I mentioned a little bit kids. If there are kids involved, how old are the kids? I'll go one further with you and say, ask yourself as well too, what are the kids? And this is important as well too, because if you're like, she's a mom, I found boy moms are very like, we're boy moms. There's a lot of hashtags for the boy mom. So if it's a boy mom thing, just know that because you might speak to her differently. All right. Okay. I'm going to show you some of these that we're going to go through right now. Some more quantitative questions. I'm going to put a little pin in location. We'll get back to that. No, let's do that now. Let's do it now. Okay. So when you're thinking about location, before we do that, I wanted to answer. Andrea said 40 to 60 female interested in well-being, health, those juggling family, aging parents. Very good. Now I'm going to push you, Andrea, and say, Andrea, and say 40 to 60 is still a huge range. People who are in their 60s or their their late 50s are going through something different than those who are in their 40s. Think even like just, am I going through menopause? Am I premenopausal? Am I not even worried about that right now? So I would encourage you to challenge yourself and see if you can even make that age of your ideal client or business partner, get that down even a little bit further than for the 40 to 60. Yeah, Courtney says, I believe my target market is 24 to 80 for me. That's a great example of it being really, really broad. 80-year-old and a 24-year-old going through very different things. So I would really encourage you to ask yourself, okay, how can I get the 24 to 80 down to, like, if you think of him or her as one person, ask yourself, with that one person, how old are they? And if you're thinking about one person, they can't be a range, right? Again, remember, we're doing the target, and just think about when you're playing darts, you've got that bullseye, but you get all the little spots around it as well too. So don't have, like, if you are worried about, oh my gosh, but I miss out on other people. Remember, when you're doing what you're doing very well, A, they're going to come, and B, there are a lot of people, even in that just one age group, where you're going to be just fine. Okay. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, but I want to give you another example, because I know it's hard when you're thinking about like these ranges. When you think about companies, right? Big companies. Let's talk about like McDonald's, for example. If you watch the McDonald's commercial on game day, you're going to see people dressed up, the paint on, they got the fingers like, yeah, let's go get some nuggets. And they're like, I love what you do for me, McDonald's. If you watch it on a channel like the Hallmark Channel, you might see an adorable elderly couple sitting down because they love their mac coffee, and they go get their mac McCafe, I can say that, I promise, coffee. And they're like, and it's a little calmer, like, I'm loving it. If you watch it on, if you watch a commercial on BET, on Black Entertainment Television, you're going to see a mixed group of people coming in, they're jiving, and the music's like, I'm loving it. That's the same company. They're selling the same products, but they are targeting their markets because they know that if they show people who are watching those channels that they're speaking specifically to them, they're more likely to buy their product. Now, you and I are not McDonald's. We are not, and that's a good thing for all sorts of reasons. We don't have the resources to create commercials and live streams and even YouTube channels or Instagram or Facebook accounts that speak to all these different people. But by Jove, if we just focus on one, we get really clear on that one and we're rocking that one, the rest is going to come. When you show yourself as an expert for that specific age range, so like Andrea said, okay, true. So she's got her down to 50s. When she shows that she's an expert with the 50 sums, and maybe she gets that down even more specific and interested in well-being and health and those juggling aging parents, when she shows she's clear on that, they'll come to her as experts, and others who may be just getting to that point where they're like, gosh, this is becoming an issue. My parents are aging. I'm not sure how to deal with that, or I'm worried about dealing with that. They go, Andrea is my expert. So even if they're not specifically in that age range, they're going to come to it. So just know when you build it, they will come in that way. You just have to be really clear on you're the expert of this audience. And when you're really drilled down, the others, they come. I promise. Okay. All right. And plus, there's enough in that one area that even if it took them a moment to come, you will be able to have a robust business in that area. All right. So I always think income level is important. And this goes back to my example of making sure that the people who need your product are likely to buy it. If you know your product is a price range where people are going to cringe, or it's going to make them hurt to decide to use their money to pay for it, then you might decide to make that income level that they are at a little bit higher, a little bit different to accommodate that, right? If you want to make it where it's, so when you get on Instagram and you see offers for different things, right? And you see, they know because they check all these things, like when they're doing ads, they have an idea, a good idea of your income level and your buying habits. And that is why typically when you see an ad and then you press the button to buy it, you're like, oh yeah, that's an impulse buy, I'm buying it. Boom. Don't even have to think about it, right? But if it was something that was like a gajillion dollars, you'd be like, oh, I don't know. It better be, is it good? Can I afford that? And you have all these objections that come in because the thing is not in that happy range. So what I want you to think about when you're deciding who your target market, who that person, who that avatar is, by Jove, make sure that they're in an income level where they don't have to think too hard about making that purchase. That will make your life a lot easier because you won't have to prove the value over and over again as much. Okay. You also want to consider education level. And the reason I say this, is because the education level of the person will determine what type of conversation and some of the lingo you're going to be using. Okay, you might be thinking, what is she talking about? Listen, I have a friend who her whole company, what she does is she's a doctor and she teaches people who are pre-med how to get into med school. That is what she does. That's her focus. That's her target market, those who are trying to get into med school. And she gives them all the tools and has a course and whatnot and a membership that helps them with that. So for her, all of her lingo, all the conversations she has is for people who are at that education level. She knows specifically who she's talking to. There's certain things that I would not know 10 bits about because medicine is not my background. So you really want to know what kind of education level, where they're at on that, and how your product plays into that, okay? Because the conversation you're going to be having is going to be different based on that, all right? Next thing I have in there, of course, is marital status or family status. It's important to know, are they married? Are they divorced? Are they single? We call those different things these days. What's their marital status? And that also matters too, because their marital status plays into their decisions on spending money, right? So that could play a part into whatever you're selling. If you're selling a course that costs thousands of dollars, she may not, and if she's married, she may not make that decision on her own. She might have to have that conversation with a spouse, or she might be someone who doesn't. You get to make those decisions as you drill down and determine who she is. And then last but not least, on the quantitative, to consider is what's her marital status. I'm sorry, I just said that. What her occupation or his or her occupation is. What do they do? What do they do for a living? And similar to education level, that plays a part in what kind of conversations you're going to be having with them. There's certain things you get to shortcut. Like, for example, if you're selling, let's say you're selling like supplements of some sort, okay, and that's your business, you're selling these supplements. If you're selling supplements to people who have a health background or who are in the medical field, you can shortcut a lot of things that you might have to explain to someone who's not in the medical field about why or the value of these things. So make sure you're tying into that, okay? All right, so have you written that all down? I'm going to give you a moment to answer those questions. How old are they? I forgot location. We're going to get there in a second. Gender, income level, education level, marital family status, and occupation. Location is one that I have a love for. I live in Southern California. I've been here for 5 years. I came from, most recently, Texas, lived in Texas for 15 years, in Austin for 15 years. Something that I was very acutely aware of when I moved to California is that while they're both Texas and California in the same United States of America, they might as well be two different countries. And we think that, we say that like we're laughing, but I'm joking, but we're not. I'm not. I'm not joking. Austin was a place where you say hi to everybody. If you're walking across the street, you might exchange numbers or join an Instagram, like get each other's Instagram accounts while you're doing that. I moved to California. People wouldn't talk to me. I'd be in an elevator. I'd say hi. They'd ignore me. I was like, what's wrong with me? Because I just wasn't used to that. California is also the place of, I call it the land of no queso. If you know what queso is, in Texas, that's something we eat every single day, every single meal if we can. In California, when I go to a Mexican restaurant and ask for queso, they look at me like I thought I was being cute and go, you want some cheese? No, I don't want cheese. I want queso. It's two different things. It made me very aware of the fact that where you live makes a difference. It makes a difference with the way you talk, with what matters, with even what time you're going to go live stream. So I want you guys to decide, where does she live? And please, and you can pop it in, saying the United States is not specific enough, because I just gave you an example of how California and Texas are different, but also think like East Coast, West Coast, so different, South, North, so different. It's just different. So when you decide where they are, I want to know specifically, where do they live? Now you might go, can I say suburbs? Yes, but suburbs in what area? Where do they live? And remember, this is going to play a piece into when you go live, what words you use going live, the whole 9 yards. So even if you're like, gosh, I want an international business, awesome. But right now, where's your focus specifically? What is that area that they live in? Okay. So consider that. And you're like, oh man, makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. Cost of living is different. When you think about like an income level and how much money the household makes, gosh, someone who makes $100,000 in California is living very differently than someone who's making $100,000 in Kansas. Can we agree on that? So you want to make sure you consider that as you're making a look. And I love these. Julie says suburbs of Minnesota. Fantastic. She's giving us a specific, this is where they live. Remember, it does not mean that you're not going to get clients and business members, partners that live in all sorts of places. You will, but you want to focus your content on social media. You want to focus your live streams specifically on knowing who she is directly there. Or I keep saying she because mine is a she. That's why I say that. Okay, so I should say who they are. Okay. All right. So now that you've got your quantitative questions down, I hope you're just scribbling all over the paper. Do it. That's awesome. This is a process, and you're diving into it. I'm happy for you. Okay, so let's go into some more qualitative questions, and these might require longer answers for you. Okay, so first of all, what is she like? What's her personality? What is their personality? Are they timid? Do they lack confidence? I was working with a client just yesterday, and she teaches confidence. That's what she teaches. So for her, the personality she's looking for is someone who does not have confidence. If you're someone who's looking for business partners, like in a network marketing company, you might want people who are very confident, are not afraid of rejection. So consider these questions. Or you might say, I want someone who wants to better themselves and maybe is all about personal development and improving who they are and what they're working on. And so for you, you might say that is what I'm looking for personality wise. What's their attitude? Are they a glass is always full or glass is half empty type of person? And again, that matters with what you're selling. So you might go, Roxanne, obviously I want someone who's a glass half full, but you might not. You actually you might have a product that's for someone who is not those things. So consider that. Okay. Also, what kind of values do they have? What's important to them? This makes a difference. Listen, it's so interesting. I love sociology was like my favorite undergrad course. And I know why now, because I think that the science behind people, the way people think and live is so interesting. So when I say that, I think of the fact that you could have $500 and you could say, shop for whatever you want. Okay. Some people would buy an online course because they love that and they're all about it. Some people would buy a handbag. Some people would buy skincare. And you know what's interesting about that? The person who buys skincare would go, you spent how much on a handbag? I would never. And the person who bought the handbag would be like, you spent how much on an online course? I would never. And the person who bought the online course would be like, you spent how much on skincare? Are you crazy? I would never. That's the reality. We value different things. So you want to ask yourself, especially knowing who you are, your brand, and what you sell, what kind of values does she have? What does she value? What is important to her? Okay. And it could be like, oh, she doesn't want to age, or she wants to constantly better and educate herself, or it's all about her kids and she wants to make sure her kids have everything. And that is her priority. Ask yourself what that looks like for her. Also, what interests and hobbies does she have? Y'all, this is so important because one of the great things about live streaming is it allows you to cut through all of the fat, shall we say, in the sense of like right to the bone of people get to know you and they trust you and they like you and they buy for you and you buy from you. And it's a beautiful thing. Well, one of the ways they can get to know you, like you, and trust you better is if you guys have some type of common bond and relationship. So her interests and hobbies could play into what you talk about that are yours authentically. So for example, you've heard me say this, I got a Peloton a couple months ago. So I'm all like Pelotoned out. I might mention Peloton in my live streams from time to time because I may know that my person is someone who cares about self-care, or maybe I'm like, if I'm looking for Peloton people, that would be another example. Okay. So just think about what kind of interests and hobbies, what's her lifestyle? What is that like? What are her behaviors? I'm going to give you some time to like answer these questions and ask yourself these questions and answer them as I look at some of the comments in your chat. Alan says, confident, outgoing, great. Julie says, I had a person who told me skincare was way too expensive, but then spend $200+ when I had a 31 gifts party. Yeah. Because what we value determines how much we're going to spend on something. And there was a stat that I just saw that came out this week that said, was it 67% of people said that if they trust a brand, they will spend more money on it, which is another reason why you want to make sure that people know, like, and trust you, that you're being authentic to who you are out there. But it's so true. What we value is spend money on. And $200, not a lot when she's buying bags and gifts, but man, oh man, skincare, she's like, what? You want me to do who? What? So consider that. I'm going to give you some quick minutes to finish that up. Okay. Now, let's do the next. So you've asked yourself these qualitative questions, and y'all, if you're watching the replay, you can literally pause and write that. I know if you're like, wait, Roxanne, I need more time. Forgive me. I want to be conscious of your time. But work on those qualitative questions. You can go ahead and I'll put that back up one more time if you want to screenshot it, or you can always watch the replay again. So you have that information that's there for you. So there it is. Those are the questions you want to ask yourself. And remember, again, like I'm going through this like in an hour and I'm going to show you how to apply it. Understand, like in a boot camp, if I had more time with you, we'd be going through each one of these and I'd be working with you guys more in depth. But this is a great place for you to get the bones of what you need. I also want to mention to you while I'm giving you a little stall time. If you would like more live streaming tips as you watch this, I just want to encourage you to check out my podcast. Just go to rockstalkspodcast.com and there's more live streaming tips. In fact, this whole month we've been focusing directly on how to grow your business through live streaming. So definitely just go to Rocks Talks Podcast and you'll see the last 4 episodes will give you all the information or more information for you on that. Okay. All right. Next up, I love that. Alan says, my interests are cars related, racing and rallying. Great. So, you can bond with people there and maybe that's who your guy, because you said it was a guy, maybe he's interested in that as well too. Okay. So now when you've done that, here's some questions I want to ask you to ask yourself. Okay. And you've got it laid out, excuse me. Ask yourself, how does your product or service fit into her lifestyle? And I want you to answer that question. You might be like, obviously it fits in this way. No, I want you to literally answer that question. How does your product and service fit into her lifestyle? And even more specifically, how does it make it easier? Because ease is really your product, your service is creating a solution for, which makes ease, right? So how does that fit? I'll even go one further. If you thought to yourself, well, she's a busy mom, and you know that whatever process you have takes a lot of time, then you might want to actually change the thought process that the person's a busy mom. Maybe your avatar, maybe your person is not busy because it takes a long time to do whatever you have to offer. So think about that as you say, how does it fit into her lifestyle? And if it's a hard fit, then I want you to take this moment and tweak it and make it a simpler fit for her. Okay. Next question you're going to ask yourself is how and when will she use the product? A good one. How and when is she going to use that product or that service? This plays into even like when you talk about it, the runway towards it. Let's say your product is something that only works in the summer. It's a summer product. Then right now, you've got about 4 weeks to ramp up, maybe more than 4 weeks, probably 6 weeks to ramp up and get her ready for it so that when summer hits or right before summer, she's ready and roaring to buy what you have. So ask yourself how and when she's going to use the product. And it can be as like, well, she's going to use it daily or she's going to use it whenever, but ask yourself that question and answer it. Also, I want you to ask yourself, what features are most appealing to her about your product? Because now you have an idea of who she is. Not what features were most appealing to you or to when you created it, but now that you know who she is, what is the thing she's going to like the most about it? It might be different from the reason you bought it and you created it in the first place, or the reason you went into that particular business. What is the most appealing? And times make things change as well too. So consider that question. And then also I want you to ask, what social media does she turn to for information? This is huge. We'll apply this in a moment, but you want to know, where does she go for social media? And I say for info, and info is also for scrolling, for looking, for hanging out. But what social media platform is she on? Is she on Facebook? Is she on Instagram? Is she a YouTube-aholic? Does she hang out on TikTok? Is she a Clubhouser? Does she not even know what social media is? That is going to determine some of your time. Yeah? Okay. Now that you've answered those, it's time to evaluate. And these are the questions that I go through. I'm going to go through them quickly with you, but these are things you want to ask yourself another time once you've gone through all these things. Knowing who you've written down and who she or he is right now, or they are, I should say. Ask yourself, are there enough people who fit my criteria? I'm going to remind you, 2.7 billion people on Facebook, 1 billion people on Instagram. What did I say? 3 point something billion on YouTube. So they're enough, even drilling her down or him down or them down. Okay. The answer to that should be yes. Next question you're going to ask yourself is, will my target market really benefit from my product or service? Do they care? Does it answer the so what question? Do I know why they would like whatever I have to offer? Next question, will they see a need for it? Just because they'll benefit doesn't mean they're going to see a need. It goes back to the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So yes, they'll benefit, but will they drink it? Next question, do I understand what drives my target market to make decisions? Do I know why they will make a decision? Do I know what makes them get off the couch and decide to buy my product, join me in business, take my service or any service? And if not, then we want to reassess that. Next question, can they afford my product or service? That's a big one. And can I reach them with my message? If they're someone who's not on social media, how am I reaching them right now? Ask yourself that. And then also, are they easily accessible? Okay, these questions, the questions that I highly recommend you ask, whether you're doing it now or later, right? And if there's a no on any of these, then you might want to tweak your target market to make it a yes. Comprende? Okay. I want you to just like stand up and go, woo, you did it. We're not done yet. We're almost done. But you have identified, you've drilled down your target market or your audience. Now, I would encourage you to take some time and go a step further and like write out and be more specific. Like, what is her name? I want you to name him, her, them. Like, name them. Give them a name. Give them a story. When I was doing home shopping, my mentor and the CEO of the company, he came from like big companies like Disney and the Limited brand and all those companies, and they literally would have an avatar. They would have a name for her because that's what they did, and she would be considered in every single meeting. Before they made a decision, they'd say, we're going to make up a name. Would Jennifer like this? And if they couldn't say Jennifer would like what they're going to put out there, they wouldn't put it out there. They go, nope, then let's go back to the drawing board and find something Jennifer would like. Think about this. These are big companies who have an avatar, one person, and they had a drawing. They knew who she was. And if she didn't like it, they weren't going to do it. I encourage you to lean into, we learn a lot from big businesses. Don't get me wrong. Big businesses wish they were us because we can juke and jive and we can get very personal with each other, with companies, but with our target market. But that right there, the way that they use an avatar is something we should be using every day. And if she wouldn't like it, then it didn't make it. So consider that and really drill down. Okay. I love that Alan mentioned year-round products. Awesome. And Julie said her mom turns to Facebook and her kids tell me how old people are on Facebook. Yeah. I like that. Okay. You ready for the next step? Because I told you today that I was going to show you not only how to do that on your target audience, but how to apply that to amp up your live streaming or going live. Would you like to see how that works? All right, let's dive into it. So we're going to apply this, all the things you've just discovered about your person to the live stream. First question you're going to ask yourself, you might be asking is, because your live stream and really anything, y'all, I'm giving you this for live streaming going live, but this applies to everything you're putting out on social media, everything. Because the more congruent, the more consistent you are with your brand and what you're doing, the more she's going to feel like you know her, the more she's going to convert into that raving fan, that client, that business partner. Okay. So first and foremost, you're going to apply what you just learned about your avatar, about your audience, your target audience, to the way that to where you live stream. Okay. So I'm curious. I asked you at the beginning, where are you doing your live videos right now? And some of you might be like, I'm not yet, Roxanne, but where are you doing them? The reason I asked that is because if you said to yourself, she's on Facebook and I'm live streaming right now on Instagram, you might want to reevaluate that, right? Or if you're like, he's a YouTuber. YouTube is where he's at. And I'm live streaming over on Facebook. You might want to make that decision to go ahead and make sure you're at least, if not moving over there completely, adding that to the equation. So ask yourself right now, where am I live streaming? And can I make sure I live stream in the right place? Because I got news for you. When you live stream in the right place, you know what happens? You amp up your business. You convert. When you go where they are there waiting for you. It's an amazing thing. We're not going to try and make them. How many of you have tried to do something other than a Facebook group for community? Time as a online business owner and being in different masterminds and groups with online business owners, we've all tried it. It falls flat. We've learned go where the people are. People are on Facebook for groups. That is where we will be. Same type of thing. Where are you going to be live streaming? Where is your person? That is where you're going to live stream. All right. And again, if that place happens to be on Facebook, or YouTube, and soon to be on LinkedIn as well too. I highly recommend, as you can see me using right now, Be.Live. It works so well, y'all, and it really amps up. And I'm able to show different slides. I can have guests on. It's fantastic. Okay. And I will put that link up there as we go through the next. I have it. You'll see it. Yeah, here we go. 14-day trial. There it is. You can just use that link. Get there. Okay. Next question I want you to ask yourself and evaluate is, when are you going live? Oh, the when matters. Now, don't get me wrong. The replay is a powerful, powerful tool. So always know that if you go on and nobody's there, that doesn't mean that no one watched. That doesn't mean that no one's going to convert. You're going to have an ability to get them in the replay. But if you know when they're on, or you know when's a better time to be on for them, wouldn't you take advantage of that? So ask yourself, now that you know who they are, if there's someone who only has time to get on social media, let's say at night, then maybe you want to tweak and do your live streams at night. Why not? And let them know when they're going to be. Why not? If you have that knowledge, which you do now, because you've created your avatar, you've created your target audience, then I say lean into that and make sure that you are there when she's there, or he or she or them. Okay. I'm gonna think about it. You're like, gosh, this is easy. Why didn't I think about it? Well, because if you've been spending your time trying to talk to everyone, then you feel like you gotta be on all the time. This gives you a little bit more of focus, or a lot more focus, I should say. The next question we're gonna apply it is the what. Okay, so this is the big one. What do we talk about? Oh, zoinks. Because you know that not every live is going to be talking about buy my product, join my business. That's not how this works, right? Your lives are ways and opportunities for you to get to know your people. Great example. I'll just give you an example right now. I'm not sitting here talking to you about joining my membership. No, I'm talking to you and giving you value. You want to make sure you're giving your target market value, but you might be asking yourself, how do I know what value to give? Well, now that you know who they are, and you know what they care about, and remember that question I asked you to ask yourself, what about your product or service is appealing to her? That's a big place to start when you talk about your videos, okay? So I'd go one step further and go, okay, what is the solution that I am solving? Like, what is the solution? What is the problem that I'm solving? Does she or he, do they even know that they have that problem? Start with like establishing that as a thing and giving some value attached to that, right? Or great example, if what you're offering is something that's like an amazing hack for busy moms, then you might start by just having lives where you can have that camaraderie of being busy, or you're giving other general hacks that don't require any money or any investment, and then lead to the opportunity to talk about one that does what you have to offer. Okay. So the what comes from knowing who she is, knowing what would be attractive to her about what you have to offer, knowing what her pain points are, as we call them, her issues, and solving those, giving her value. That is how you are not only getting the know, like, and trust factor going, but you're also giving her content that she cares about, which is so valuable. And yes, is going to increase all things, including your sales. Okay. So marinate on that. And I hope you took some notes on that to kind of figure out what your live streams are going to look like for the next month per se. Okay. All right. Next thing, how do we apply this? Oh boy, you put the how on there. Okay. Now that we know who they are, I keep saying she because mine is a she. So that's why, who she is. Now, how do we apply this to our live stream? I want you to go back to really defining and remembering who she is. So everything you're doing goes back to that specifically. Okay. So when you think about the how, we've talked about the others. When you think about the how, ask yourself, how would be appealing to her? Like, you are now speaking her language, right? You're talking the way she would talk. You are having you're discussing and you're using common vernacular and understanding. Another reason why I say, where does she live specifically? Because that makes a difference. Okay. So when you think about what you're doing on your live stream, you know what you're going to be talking about, but the how, you want to apply it to her. So she's like, remember that 91% of women think that advertisers don't know who they are. Show her you know who she is by talking to her how she would like to be spoken to. And that's big. That's getting into the thought process of and the journey of the customer, right? If you are in her head, then she's like, oh my gosh, you're in my head. You knew exactly, this is what I was thinking. How did you know that? Then she's all in. Then the scroll has been stopped. She's sitting down with popcorn and she's just taking it all in. Okay. All right. And if y'all have questions on any of this, let me know. Okay. So, wow, time flies when we're doing all these things. Okay. So what I want you to ask yourself right now, and like I said, you can watch the replay and apply all this. And is what I want you to realize is this: when you know who they are and you've drilled down that audience, all of a sudden it gets rid of the overwhelm. You're not overwhelmed with all the ideas and all the things. You know who they are specifically, and then you're able to apply that to the live stream so that you can have those specific conversations. So even when you're selling, like when you're doing a live, we're like, okay, this live is about me selling the product and I'm ready and I'm dialed in. You are specifically talking to her. You're specifically talking to her needs. You're specifically in tune with who she is and what she needs. And as a result, she is going to buy from you. Doing lives that are about everyone, or frankly, lives that are just about you, and they're just about you. Like literally, if you did the so what rule of like, I don't know how this applies to anyone else but myself, that helps you like get, I guess, comfortable going live, but it doesn't really help you move the needle to make sure that you are tapping into and working people through your funnel so that you're building your business. So I want you to really think about that. Rather than thinking about doing a lot of live streams, think about doing quality ones and talk about things that are important to her. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to give examples. I gave examples today, but the content, the value was about you and you feeling like, okay, I have things that now I can put into place and I can build upon. Okay. So I want you to think about that as well too. When you're doing those live streams, now that you know, if when we know better, we do better. When you don't really know who you're talking to and you're talking to everyone, you are, and you should be relying on, okay, what I know. I'll talk about what I know because that's what I know. But when you know, yes, you talk about what you know, but you know who they are. There's a lot of no's in that sentence. Then it gives you the ability to really dial in and focus. The overwhelm goes away. And then you're like, okay, I know how I'm going to connect with her. I know how I'm going to build this. I know I'm going to rock it. Okay. If there are any questions, let me know. This is the time to ask them. Again, if you want more tips on how to do your live streaming and even some of the technical, like working on your going live, highly recommend you check out my podcast, Rocks Talks. Podcast.com, and you'll see the last 4 episodes are all about those. Newest episode actually came out today. It's the 3 R's of live streaming and how to capitalize on those. My hope for you today, I know I said if you got one thing from this, I want you to believe the mantra that when you talk to everyone, you're talking to no one. And I firmly believe that. But if you wanted to get more out of this, my hope today is that you get really clear on the importance of why, not only why you're drilling down your target market, but to actually drill her down, knowing that, listen, you can change who she is at any point in time, but you focusing even the next 90 days specifically on a target market is going to help you not only grow your live streams and your business coming from your live streams, but it'll help you grow your business in general. Everything you're putting out on social media is going to be so targeted. And when you target, that is where the good stuff happens. That's where you see that it comes to life in a big, big way. And I speak from personal experience as well as experience from my clients who are doing that and leaning into that every day. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know it's hard to think, okay, I'm going to drill it down. I'm going to let go of that. Like I'm speaking to everyone, but I promise if you lean into it, it will definitely help. And with that, I'm going to show you, I got to go back to this really fast, maybe not that fast, because it is important. If you came in late, you didn't see it, you can catch it on the replay, but I want you to catch it now because it is that important. These stats, just in case you're like, I don't want to drill her down. I want you to remember a couple of things. Right now on YouTube, there are 2.3 billion users worldwide, and 79% of internet users have their own YouTube account. On Instagram right now, there's 1 billion people using the app each month. That's unique people, 1 billion. And on Facebook, 2.7 billion monthly users, unique users. They are out there. They are out there. So when you think about the billions, you can drill it down beautifully, like drill it down, like really specific. And you still will have a plethora of people to grow your business with. You look at those stats, and I hope that empowers you. And you look at that and you go, you know what? I can do this. I can drill it down, and there's still plenty, more than plenty of people for me to reach whatever goal I want and to grow my business in whatever way I like. Okay. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Again, if you would like, check out the podcast, or don't forget notes in the comments. I'll put it up here again. I highly recommend you check out Be.Live. I don't leave home without it. I don't do a live video without it, because it is so fantastic and it's helped me build my business in a lot of ways. And I know it'll help you as well too. Let me know if you have any questions. And this is my mantra, and I want to share with you. You are not ahead. You're not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Thanks for being here with me today, and I'll see you next month.